So a lot is riding on Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. It's no secret that the MCU has not been doing well in the post-Endgame landscape. So what would happen to the MCU if those two movies fail at the box office? So in this video, we're going to discuss that possible future. What would happen to the MCU if Doomsday and Secret Wars fail to save it? But first, please like, subscribe, and share. Anything you can do will help my channel reach more people. And if you like this video, make sure to hit that bell icon so you can get my videos as soon as they drop. It's no secret that the MCU has been on sort of a downturn for the last 5 years. Yes, ever since Endgame came out, Phases 4 and 5 have just not lived up to the hype that was the MCU prior to Endgame. And there's a lot of reasons for that. You have a bunch of strikes that the writers and the actors were dealing with. You of course had COVID. And then of course Endgame was everything that the MCU had built up to for the first 12 years or so of its existence. All the way up to Endgame, everything was pointing towards what Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame were all about. It was all about the Infinity Stones. And it was awesome, and then it was over. And then of course, like I said, you had COVID, you had all these different breaks in production, and you really had the MCU going in a bunch of different ways. You had the launch of Disney Plus, you had all these different Disney Plus shows that were trying to introduce all these new characters, you had the multiverse, you had Kang, you had the remaining Avengers dealing with what it was like not having the original Avengers left, you had all these different smaller characters that were stepping into the limelight, and in the end, it led to a bunch of lackluster movies. Some were good, some were bad, but pretty much all of them, outside of a few, failed at the box office. So what would happen if Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars don't do well? I mean, that's impossible, right? It's impossible that an Avengers movie wouldn't do well. Is it? Is it actually impossible that those two movies couldn't make, I don't know, 600 million, 500 million? I actually think it's quite possible. Look, I'm pretty sure they're both going to make over $1 billion. But it's not out of the realm of possibilities that they both fail to do well in the box office, especially Secret Wars. What if Doomsday isn't good? What if Doomsday doesn't live up to the hype of what everyone wants? What if everyone's just tired? What if the DCU is doing so well a year and a half from now, people have moved on from the MCU? What if people just have superhero fatigue? People have been seeing superhero movies constantly now for the last 15 years. It's quite possible that they want to watch something else. It could be a mixture of all of these. Or it could just be Doomsday is alright. Doomsday is just an Avengers movie. Remember, these are just comic book movies. A lot of people online sink their entire life into comic book movies. But they're just comic book movies, and they maybe don't appeal to everyone as much as they used to. Nonetheless, it's quite possible that Doomsday doesn't do well. It's quite possible that Secret Wars falls on its face as well. But either way, the movies are still going to come out. They're still going to change the MCU. What we're going to have after Secret Wars is a single universe. The multiversal saga will finally be over. We're going to start getting the X-Men. We're going to start focusing on Fantastic Four more. Whatever the surviving Avengers are, or whatever Avengers are brought over from other universes, they will have their own little team as well. But in the end, we're going to stop having all these different multiversal threats coming in. It'll just be whatever Earth 616 is at that point. And like I said, they're going to focus on the X-Men and all of those storylines, and frankly, that'll be great. But it might just not have the big boom and bust in the box office that we're used to. Maybe things will look a little bit more like Fantastic Four. You know, they only spent about $200 million to film it, which sounds like a lot of money, but it's absolutely pennies on the dollar compared to what they're spending on Doomsday and Secret Wars. Remember, those movies have like 100 A-list celebrities filming a movie at once. But what if you get a bunch of B and C-list or no-name actors filming for the X-Men, or filming for all these small projects? Well, then you could film it for less. What if the MCU was more focused on small stories? We already know that that's what they're going to do with Disney Plus. They're going to start focusing on only having Disney Plus characters exist in Disney Plus. They're going to stop trying to introduce movie characters in a TV show. They already kind of learned their lesson from Thunderbolts. A lot of those characters were introduced in TV shows, and people just weren't interested in going to see them because they didn't know who they are. Just because a lot of people watch Disney Plus shows doesn't mean that those cross over with who the people are going to see movies in the box office. People that go to see movies in theaters might only see movies in theaters. They might think of Disney Plus as a children's streaming service. Just because people are excited to see all these big Avengers movies doesn't mean they're excited to see what random side villain from a Disney Plus show showing up in a huge MCU film. It doesn't mean they're excited to see that at all. They don't know who these people are. So step number one, MCU is going to continue to have two different paths. You're going to have the Disney Plus path, which is just a bunch of Disney Plus characters from the MCU just staying in Disney Plus. And trust me, that can be great. Daredevil Born Again is great, and he needs to stay right where he is on Disney Plus. I would be fine with 5 more seasons of that, but he does not need to go to Doomsday and Secret Wars. Leave him in Disney Plus, make it a mature show, and have it be enjoyable. But what happens if Doomsday and Secret Wars doesn't do well? What would that mean for the future of movies in the MCU? Well, I'll tell you, it's going to be small. They're going to focus on the X-Men and really just do some X-Men storylines. It doesn't have to connect up to anything bigger than them for a while. Just focus on the X-Men. Get people excited for the X-Men. Don't just throw them into all these big storylines connecting with the Avengers and Fantastic Four. Let them do some X-Men storylines for a bit and let people learn who these characters are and enjoy them. And you know, the same thing goes for Fantastic Four and for the surviving Avengers. I'm talking about specifically the Avengers that are actually in the MCU, not the characters that may have been introduced in Disney Plus. But all of these characters need to be dealing with their own storylines. We need to not have these universal ending plots for a while. I really hope that this next phase goes on for a bit. Let's learn a little bit of how the Fantastic Four are going to deal with their own enemies in the MCU. Let's watch how the X-Men are going to deal with their own stuff in the MCU and whatever surviving Avengers, or if you have something like Midnight Suns, introduce them all and kind of let them spread out for a few years. Don't try and do a huge Avengers-esque plot line for a while. And I'm serious, let it be for like 3 or 4 years of just solid movies. Build up your characters, make us like these characters before you throw them all together. Make some cheaper movies for about 200 to 300 million. Make it to where your movies only have to make $500 million before they make a profit. None of these movies where it's costing like $600-700 million before they make any money. That's crazy. It's crazy that you set yourself a bar up so high, but it makes sense. Everything in the MCU was just cashing big checks up until now, but it's not that way anymore. You have competition from DC. You have the fact that people have superhero fatigue. The MCU needs to shrink down for a few years, especially if Doomsday and Secret Wars fail. But to be honest, even if they succeed, give yourself a chance with a smaller X-Men movie. The MCU needs to shrink down a bit. Look at Iron Man 1. It was just one dude fighting another robot, and we just learned about his character. And that's what set it up to succeed. There were no bars that it had to cross. It was just Iron Man. And the X-Men, that's already a team in its own. It doesn't need anything bigger than that. Let's have their storylines for a bit. Let's enjoy their storylines. And it can take place in the MCU, of course. But don't make them set up for these universal ending things for a while. Let us learn and enjoy the X-Men for their own sake. We've waited now for 15 years. They don't have to be dealing with the Avengers every single day. Give us some X-Men storylines. Give us some Fantastic Four storylines. Give us whatever surviving Avengers have. Give us their own storylines for a bit before you smash them all together. The MCU needs to shrink down and then slowly grow up again. Because if they keep trying to go big, especially if Doomsday and Secret War fail, well then the MCU itself could fall over and die. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Make sure to click that subscribe button and check out those videos on screen now.